I am a girl, and I am just asking. I honestly feel like attractive men have it easy, especially when it comes to getting what they want and dating. Women experience this too, but they often face criticism from other women simply for being attractive. Men do not tend to criticize each other the way women do. However, feel free to try to change my mind. Story 1. Is she staring at me because I'm attractive or because I'm creepy? This is something women don't have to worry about. Story 2. Some men are jealous if I talk to their significant other, even if I am not hitting on her or anything. You get discredited for what you do. Women assume you are only interested in sex, which, to be fair, when I was single was not far from the truth, but still. Story 3. The shadow of the halo effect. People will always believe you are doing well just because of your appearance, which leads to even less support. Story 4. Women often assume you are a womanizer and give you an eye roll before you even say the first word. Story 5. I am a late bloomer and get stared at a lot. I find it confusing because I am not used to it yet. Some guys dislike me for no reason until they talk to me and see what kind of person I am. Older women have no problem flirting, while women my age just stare. If I try to talk to them, they seem skeptical, cold, and shy all at the same time. One thing I've noticed is that once people get to know the real me, they seem somewhat disappointed that I am just a calm, nerdy, and peaceful person. It actually hurts a little. Story 6. I'm not a conventionally attractive guy. However, having been pursued and found attractive by a certain subset of women, I can tell you what it's like. You don't get pursued. They are intimidated, so no one shows interest. Attractive women have this issue, except guys pursue women. Women rarely pursue men, so people think you're getting all this interest, but since you're out of their league, they won't approach you or act emotionless and distant when talking to you, not daring to show any interest. The few times you are approached, it's usually by those who have nothing to lose and take their shot. They are generally not the best options available, so you assume that's your lane. Meanwhile, there are women you'd like more, but they show zero interest. Sure, they may gossip about you behind closed doors, but that's pointless. You get the joy of finding out years later that they really liked you but didn't talk to you. This realization can be incredibly frustrating. Your crush, who showed almost disdain, was just really nervous and avoided you. Great. You feel fantastic. Dating is easy as you do get interest from individuals lower on your preference list, but their personalities tend to be unusual or quirky, not necessarily in a good way. So at least you have that going for you. Loneliness isn't an issue, but both men and women treat you differently, very similar to being wealthy while your friends are not. They look at you strangely, and everyone tends to overanalyze the things you say. You can't even discuss certain topics without people looking at you as if you're peculiar. What do you have to deal with? Going to an unfamiliar city with friends and entering a club where you are allowed in, but your friends are stopped at the entrance for not fitting the desired profile. You deal with situations like that, as foolish as it sounds. Story 7. I have often experienced inappropriate behavior at bars. Many women assume I am flirting with them and mention their husbands or boyfriends in the conversation. This frequently occurred when I worked in retail, where all I aimed to do was assist them. I have also encountered a few jealous partners when I was simply trying to engage in conversation. Story 8. I have a friend who is somewhat attractive and very charismatic, and women are drawn to him. He often complains that he would fool around with women who seem cool with no strings attached or casual interactions, but then they would clearly get attached and act like they were expecting a relationship shortly after. Story 9. This may be a deep-seated childhood issue, but people hear you without truly listening. If a girl is attracted to me, it is not for the things I genuinely value. Rather, it is because she wants to engage with this mysterious tall guy she has idealized in her mind. Story 10. Other men can be exclusionary or outright hostile. I'm not interested in your woman, so please calm down and give me some space. Story 11. The hardest part about being an attractive man is the writing. You are still expected to pursue. You are required to navigate the dating world carefully, as you may be viewed as a threat due to the actions of other men. Men can also be critical of one another. Story 12. Aging. Moving from being young, vibrant, full of energy and strength, to experiencing the absence of these qualities is a significant transition. Young man, enjoy it while you have it. It does fade away. Father Time is undefeated. Story 13. I am tall and attractive, and I stand out as a bodybuilder, so I receive many stares and comments. However, I am also mild-mannered and an introvert, which surprises people since my appearance suggests an extroverted personality. I may be somewhat intimidating, as people seemed more inclined to approach me when I was 30 pounds lighter. Reactions from other men are mixed. They either compliment me and ask numerous questions about lifting and diet, or they dislike me immediately and act passively aggressively. Story 14. If you are not dating a girl who is perceived to be prettier than you or on your level, other women may pursue you or criticize her. It does not matter if the woman you are with is your girlfriend, significant other, or spouse. Additionally, a woman may give you undue grief by feeling like you are out of her league. Therefore, if you are attractive, only commit to women who are better looking than you. Story 15. If you're good looking but not inherently skilled with women, they may resent you for it. They might wonder what's wrong with you. Conversely, if you're attractive and adept with women, they can still feel resentful if you don't express interest in them. You will be labeled more quickly than an average-looking guy. If you approach someone and it goes well, that's easy. However, if you display any signs of fear, weakness, or meekness, it triggers a mismatch that can disrupt the interaction. Story 16. Attractive men often face hostility from other men, usually manifesting as rumors, gossip, bullying, and violence from their social circles. Additionally, if I reject a woman, it rarely ends in a civil manner. It often turns confrontational or violent, with me being labeled derogatorily for not reciprocating feelings, as if I am obligated to engage with anyone who expresses interest in me. This social pressure can lead to obsession and stalking, with individuals claiming I am their boyfriend or boasting about intimate encounters. Men can also be objectified and treated inappropriately. I have encountered many strangers who have approached me to grope me or forcibly kiss me. Story 17. I am not perfect, but these are things that happen to me. Women may feel intimidated, I guess. They may stare like some men do to women, but they will almost never approach. Then they might get upset if you don't pick up their signals from across the bar. There are women who do approach, but they aren't always the type of woman you may want. It is not due to desperation or anything like that. Typically, the women who are a bit bolder and willing to approach are just not the type with whom I connect. I don't mean this based on physical appearance. I mean it in terms of personality. People seem to think I know more than I do. They expect me to know what the best answer is. I am guessing just as much as they are, probably. Story 18. The pressure to be socially engaging is significant. A girl matches with me for my looks, and then we have a brief conversation before she unmatches. As if it's my fault she can't say anything beyond, hello, or what's up. It's somewhat disappointing and hypocritical, but I have encountered thousands of these situations over the years before finding someone truly meaningful. Story 19. All girls automatically assume I am a player with no intentions other than being uncommitted. It's exhausting. Story 20. Guy friends may secretly dislike you. Some women, regardless of their attractiveness, may feel resentment towards you because they perceive a loss of power. If you excel in your job, others might attempt to undermine your success. Some married or engaged women may behave inappropriately, which can lead to distrust. This can be exacerbated if you are introverted, intelligent, and financially successful. Additionally, some individuals may react violently if they feel insecure around you. On the positive side, people may occasionally be kinder, and you might receive free samples. Story 21. Most workplaces are dominated by a male corporate ladder. It is an obstacle to succeed through a jealous swamp of egos while you are stunning. Story 22. Bland personality. I guess being an attractive person, I didn't have to try too hard to be funny or interesting to attract people. Story 23. Women tend to be more judgmental toward attractive men and are more likely to assume negative character traits, even with little to no evidence. They may perceive you as a womanizer or arrogant, and as a result, many will go out of their way to show that they are not impressed by you. Additionally, you may encounter resistance or threatened behavior from insecure men who feel inadequate in your presence. These men might exhibit aggressive behaviors or attempt to belittle you. In relationships with women, they may display somewhat more aggressive and protective behaviors. When they are aware that their partner is attractive, they may assume that other women are interested in him, leading to increased insecurity, especially in the presence of other women, particularly attractive ones. Regardless of how loyal or reassuring you are, insecurity about other attractive women can create a toxic environment. Story 24. Constant sexual harassment is likely the worst experience. I have yet to see any real benefits from it. Some women may seek you out for physical relationships, while others who want to try for something more serious can become extremely jealous and insecure quickly. Men often belittle you in these situations, but they disguise it as humor. In addition to sexual harassment, being very attractive can leave you feeling lonely most of the time. Story 25. Many women feel like they have a free pass to touch men whenever they want. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times a random woman has touched my arms, chest, ran her hand down my back, rubbed my butt, or just started dancing and rubbing against me. Story 26. When I was a child, I always felt bad when a girl would express her attraction to me and it wasn't mutual. I tried hard to let these girls down gently. I was overweight until about 9th grade when I started lifting weights and getting in shape. Over the course of a summer, my body changed dramatically, and I suddenly found myself receiving a lot of attention from girls my age. I knew what it was like to have a crush on someone and not have it returned. Story 27. Women who are not authentic may pretend to be what they believe you want in order to gain your interest. Therefore, it can be challenging to identify who is genuine. Story 28. I have experienced unwanted advances, harassment, and stalking, which are issues that women often discuss. This has occurred to me in various ways, including serious incidents. However, since I am perceived as attractive and identify as male, my experiences seem to be overlooked. No reasonable person would argue that Emma Watson is fortunate due to the level of harassment she faces. But in my case, it is often deemed acceptable. The most frustrating aspect is the disparity in how I am expected to respond. I frequently find myself thinking about it. If a man did this to me, I would confront him. If a man did this to you, I would confront him, and he would face consequences. But because of my identity and your identity, I am not even allowed to express my feelings. If I react in any way, I am seen as the problem. I simply have to endure it, as if my gender means I must welcome this behavior. Conversely, if someone asserts that a woman is asking for it due to her attire, they are criticized. The only distinction between these situations is that I cannot change my identity, yet I still feel powerless. Story 29. People often assume that success in one aspect of life, such as dating, means success in others. However, I still live at home with my mother and I am financially strained. Having numerous matches on dating apps but being unable to pursue any of them due to life's challenges can be frustrating, leading me to delete the app. Story 30. At some point, I was in better shape and quite attractive. I also have many friends who are, objectively speaking, good-looking. The truth is, most of the time, it makes no difference. I have faced rejection many times, and I have seen each of them experience rejection as well. Attractive men have a slight advantage compared to other men, but they still encounter some of the same challenges. Simply being attractive does not lead to success as a man unless you also develop other aspects of your life. Story 31. You know how women talk about all those men who approach them? Imagine how women behave when they have been told they are all queens for decades. Story 32. The hardest part about being an attractive man is settling down. You can use your looks to get a new woman interested very quickly. There is a constant fear of not living up to their expectations and skepticism about whether you are a good person. Many people assume you are not. Additionally, people do not treat you normally. There is actually an advantage to being less attractive. No one feels intimidated by you. Everyone is different, and regardless of appearance, we all have our own personalities and experiences. Story 33. Women may treat you with a negative bias in the workplace. It is unfortunate, but if you are an attractive, tall, successful white male, many people may not want you to succeed because they assume you have advantages, which you might. At times, it feels unfair, and people may either ignore you or fail to acknowledge your accomplishments simply because of your identity as a successful white man. Story 34. You thought you just made a new friend. You hang out with them, go out to eat, and have movie nights. Turns out he's gay, likes you, and thinks you're gay too. Or girls call or message you, hinting about going on dates when you just want to go to underground gigs, film screenings, art gallery openings, try out new restaurants, go on road trips, have barbecues at midnight, and watch football with your guy friends. Story 35. I have experienced both sides of the spectrum. When I am in shape, I have a great jawline, but I have also had times when I've gained weight. I've noticed that people find me funnier when I am heavier. When I am fit, I get a lot of stares, but no one seems interested in getting to know me. Dating was equally easy in both situations. I am married now, so I am out of the dating game and definitely embracing the dad bod these days. Story 36. Spending time with less attractive individuals. I am joking. I believe being an attractive girl comes with many more challenges than it does for a guy. Girls perceive me as someone who is promiscuous, although I was a virgin until later in life and still faced the stigma associated with that label. Before turning 18, I had a female work manager, a cheerleading coach, and a male figure all attempt to pursue me, with the girls being at least 10 years older. Before anyone expresses sympathy and states that this is unfortunate, I want to clarify that it did not impact me. I managed to laugh off the situation, and that was the extent of its effect on me. There are far worse situations out there that genuinely affect victims, which is truly unfortunate. Story 37. A few weeks ago, I had a surreal encounter. I was talking to two girls when a guy literally shoved himself between us, constantly repeating that he just wanted to cut in. Naturally, when I grabbed him and pulled him to a chair to calm down and have a drink of water, he said it was not fair that I was talking to two girls and he was alone. A second similarly surreal encounter happened with a friend of mine, who is not just attractive. He looks like someone very talented drew their ideal. He is in a long-term, stable relationship with a wonderful girl. We were out for drinks with his girlfriend present, sitting on a terrace. As soon as his girlfriend left for the restroom, a group of giggling girls, assuming they were over 18, came up to him and asked for his Instagram, hoping he might change his mind about being with her. Story 38. I am considered very attractive by the people in my world. Every friend group views me as the most attractive, and strangers consistently rate me as a 9 or 10 out of 10, both women and men. I mention this not to boast, but to provide context for the following statements. People tend to like and trust me. I have gotten out of tickets and other trouble simply by talking. I often receive the benefit of the doubt. Many assume I make a lot of money and have multiple casual relationships. I have several ex-girlfriends trying to reconnect despite being in a happy relationship for the last 8 years, and I occasionally receive unsolicited photographs. I have been approached by a woman to be asked out only once in my 36 years of life. Women generally do not approach men, regardless of their attractiveness. On the other hand, I have never been turned down for a date when I am the one doing the asking. In my opinion, yes, there are benefits. However, they are not as significant as many seem to believe. Story 39. I have no idea how to talk to an attractive guy. They make me feel intimidated and insecure, but it's not their fault. Story 40. Women often think all you want is sex, and I'm not exactly a super attractive guy. I would say I'm slightly above average, but in great shape. Story 41. I receive regular compliments from both women and men. Society may deem me handsome due to my features, but I believe the challenges I face are simply a part of everyday life and not solely related to my appearance. Sometimes, my looks may evoke jealousy or insecurity in others, but I think competitiveness is a common trait, so I don't view appearance as the primary reason for such feelings. The main issue I've encountered is that people tend to dehumanize me. It's easy for others to assume that because I am attractive and earn a good income, my life is relatively easy. They may overlook the struggles I have with socializing and other aspects of life. Story 42. People assume that I am a self-confident person who can walk up to women effortlessly and seal the deal. I might like a woman I hang out with socially but lack the courage to approach her about it. I feel that because I am conventionally attractive, she assumes I am not interested in her since I haven't approached her. As a result, I do not receive the assistance that some other women provide to other men when they make the first approach. They also don't spend time giving me verbal or physical cues of interest to boost my confidence that they like me too. Story 43. Difficulty developing and maintaining platonic relationships with women is significant for various reasons. Many will flirt with you continually and then withdraw if you don't reciprocate. I lost a couple of good friends in high school because their boyfriends did not want them to hang out with me. This may not apply to more masculine men, but for those who fall into the pretty boy category, many may not initially take you seriously. Others may automatically resent you. I understand it can sound trivial, and it somewhat is, but there are genuine negative effects of being attractive. Story 44. I'm not sure anymore. When I was younger, I was labeled a pretty boy, but it didn't really help or hinder me. I had my fair share of partners, but I genuinely believe that it was my personality and my ability to laugh at myself that attracted girls to me. Story 45. Some women become aggressive when flirting, especially with alcohol involved. Touching me inappropriately makes me uncomfortable and is not acceptable behavior. Story 46. Understanding that I am part of the older demographic, dating as an older gentleman has its advantages. I date frequently but rarely have to ask anyone out. Women my age seem to have limited options, which makes my life quite enjoyable. Story 47. Guys don't give each other a hard time. Guys can be just as, if not more, jealous than girls with each other. Instead of talking behind your back, they may grab your hat off your head and say, "You're too pretty to be in here," as an intimidation tactic. I was chatting with a waitress a couple of weekends ago when an older, creepy guy was constantly staring at me while I was talking to her. I mentioned it, and she said he was a regular and kind of obsessed with her. I thought nothing of it, but 30 minutes later, I had to squeeze past him in a crowded section of the bar. As I slid by, he said, "What's up, pretty boy?" I just laughed and gave him a wink. He grabbed my hat off my head and repeated, "You're too pretty to be in here." At this point, some of my friends noticed and made their way behind him. I laughed and said, "Dude, I don't know if you're trying to fight me or flirt with me, but these guys behind you aren't going to let either of those happen." He looked around, realized he was outnumbered, put my hat back on my head, and started backpedaling. The situation eventually died down, and it was forgotten until I read a post about it. It happens. It happens often. Jealousy will always exist in all aspects of life, and you should just accept animosity whenever you experience success of any kind. Story 48. I am a solid 6 to 7 on a good day. However, I often feel nervousness from women when I initiate a conversation with them, so things usually do not progress unless I make the first move and put myself out there. It is absolutely exhausting. Story 49. Attractiveness is the sum of several factors, not just physical appearance. Took me a while to realize that I probably was above average looking. As a young man, I received stares and noticed that women caught my eye frequently. However, since only older gay men approached me, and I was too shy to approach anyone myself, I was well into my 20s before I realized this. What annoys me now, in my 40s, is that I am expected to accept and ignore certain behaviors from both women and men. When you reach your 40s, the dating scene changes, and there seems to be a surplus of single women, while the pool of men that these women find dateable seems to shrink. As a rather attractive man who owns a business, has 2 teenage children, a large social circle, and good health, I know I stand out among the 40-somethings. I even have a full head of hair. I often experience some unfounded aggression from men towards me, as I get the feeling that people I meet instantly dislike me. This ranges from ignoring my presence to taking cheap shots out of the blue, pretending it is banter. Women present another scenario. Some check in to see if I'm single, I'm not, or if I'm going through a breakup, claiming they are there for me. Some hit on me directly, even in my wife's presence. Others send me messages asking to hang out, with a few being very explicit. A couple have even stalked me online, demonstrating potential to be overly obsessed. None of this is a significant problem. To be honest, I don't really think too much about it. Attractive women get pestered far more than I do. However, the one thing that frustrates me is that if I do anything other than smile, nod, and ignore aggressive men or overly clingy women, I am criticized for it. If I respond curtly to aggressive advances or tell someone to be quiet, then everyone tells me I'm at fault. And that's just frustrating. Story 50. I don't know if I'm attractive, but I'm fit and tall. People assume my life is and has always been easy, which is frustrating. Story 51. Probably the false sense of security it provides. Some individuals might seek to improve themselves by focusing more on education, fitness, and hobbies, thereby making themselves more interesting and attractive. However, many may become complacent. Eventually, they may find themselves feeling old and uninteresting. This tendency is not exclusive to men, though. Story 52. Many boys hated me while growing up, and I couldn't understand why. It ruined my life. I have never been with a girl, and I am over 30. It destroyed me. Story 53. Countless drunk men in bars have told me, I'm not into men, but you're really good looking. This is much nicer than those who say they would bend me over if they could. I have been approached by women a few times, but not nearly as often. Story 54. As a tall person, I often experience a lot of Napoleon complex. I have lost friendships because my shorter friends don't want to be seen with me in public or they don't want me to meet their girlfriends, even though I have never hit on my friends' girlfriends, even long after their breakup when I had the chance. I'm not going to lie, though. For the most part, life is amazing. I'm not going to sit here and pretend to have real problems besides losing friends, but that's about it. Story 55. Women can be intimidating, and I prefer not to attract their attention. I just want to spend time with my friends. When a woman stares at me or makes a move, it makes me uncomfortable. Some friends believe that I hinder their chances with girls. Story 56. You feel a flash out of the corner of your eye and realize some girl has her phone trained on you, but you have to pretend not to notice to avoid making her feel awkward. A friend pointed it out to me once, and I had to tell him to stop looking because that makes it more uncomfortable if I acknowledge it. Sometimes you get groped. I also have a female friend who slaps my butt. I don't mind too much because I guess guys do it too. However, she does it even when others are present, and I don't want them thinking we are messing around, especially since she is really attractive, and I don't want it to hurt her image. Sometimes girls who take an interest in me treat me like a toy because they assume I play around just as they do, making me feel like a cheap thrill, which really hurts. I've only had one long-term girlfriend, and she became so insecure that I eventually removed myself from all my female friends. I had to constantly reassure her of my sincerity, but in the end, it just wasn't enough for her to trust me. In terms of being well received by women, I guess I do fairly well, whether at work, in business dealings, or when ordering at a restaurant. However, I'm too much of an introvert to really take advantage of situations, thinking it was due to my appearance. Story 57. I believe the most challenging aspect of being attractive is not allowing it to go to your head. It involves treating people with respect, regardless of your appeal, and avoiding narcissistic behavior or a superiority complex. This, in my opinion, is the toughest part. Story 58. It can be really difficult to break up with girls, as they often become quite attached. Many tend to become intimate with me on the first date or even before it occurs, which complicates things. On the other hand, I enjoy interacting with people, as they often smile and engage me in conversation wherever I go. I believe my friendly demeanor and attractiveness have contributed to my success in securing jobs and promotions. Story 59. I have this peculiar situation where I'm not very attractive to women, but other men, even those I'm not close to, rate me much higher than I rate myself. I'm usually not interested in cold approaches, so I tend to ignore most attractive women I have no connection with, and it frustrates them. I asked my ex about this while we were dating, and she told me that I'm pretty, and that attractive women get upset when I ignore them. I still don't fully understand it, but it's definitely a recurring theme. Often, these girls will verbally or physically bully me. Most of my bullies in middle school were girls, so it makes sense. I just ignored them most of the time and they eventually stopped. Story 60. People make many assumptions and judge you before getting to know you. It is also hard to tell if people genuinely like you for who you are or if they have ulterior motives. However, these observations hold true for women as well. Story 61. Try being an appealing mechanic. Many women may show interest in you for a car repair and then attempt to make claims. Story 62. I've heard there is something called the pretty boy curse, where some women may feel inadequate or insecure if their partner is too attractive. This can lead to self-sabotage or heightened suspicion of his activities. Every situation has its challenges. Story 63. People think an attractive person has it easy, that people fall at their feet and get everything they want. While that is not entirely true, it is often the case that people can be petty, insecure, and jealous. When they see an attractive man, they may be more inclined to express negativity to bring him down a peg. If you are not already confident and secure, this negative attention can affect your self-image, which may partly explain why many genuinely attractive individuals struggle with self-esteem. You might also assume that women throw themselves at you. While it does happen, it is not as frequent as one might think. Perhaps I am just above average rather than conventionally attractive, but women also experience insecurity and fear of rejection. As a result, they often play hard to avoid being perceived as just another conquest. People are generally more inclined to be mean than to be nice. I don't think I was called attractive by anyone other than fully grown adults, like teachers, family members, or family friends, until my late 20s. Now, in my early 40s, it is far more common, but I still have trouble internalizing it. Occasionally, I encounter men who assume that I am trying to pursue their partners or believe that I can, and they become defensive, attempting to insult or undermine me. When I date, women can often be territorial or defensive. They may exhibit jealousy, or conversely, they might create the impression that I am not their only option. They remind me that I am not the only reasonably attractive, tall, smart, funny, and financially stable man interested in them, possibly to make me feel more grateful or motivated to try harder. In summary, you often bring out other people's insecurities. Story 64. I may not be the best, but I am definitely above average. I find it amusing to say that anything is hard, but if I have to choose, it's that it's stressful to have a girl occasionally swoon over you while trying not to shatter whatever fantasy she has about you. I can be quite awkward and nerdy, but when I'm out in public, I keep my jaw clenched, shoulders back, and chest puffed out, rarely speaking. I have been asked to date by girls who have only engaged in small talk with me. I always feel nervous about them seeing the real me. Story 65. In my experience, men can be just as jealous and insecure as women, especially in certain aspects. I have encountered men reacting to me in bizarre and aggressive ways throughout my life. Just a few weeks ago, I attended a work function in a building I had never been in before. I was introduced to a man who has business dealings with our company. He is a handsome man who was well-dressed. He had that alpha male demeanor from the moment I saw him approaching, and I knew how he would react. As predicted, he aggressively stepped toward me, bringing his face close to mine. He locked eyes with me while gripping my hand tightly, as if conducting a grip strength test, and said, "Where's your girlfriend? I want to meet her." I informed him that my wife was at work, as I was attending the event during normal daytime hours. He displayed a strange, panicked expression and quickly made a loud declaration about how I liked the food a little too much at the event, pointing at my shirt and indicating to those around us that I had food on it, which was not true. Then he walked off laughing. I could not find anything on my shirt, and later asked my wife if she noticed anything. She simply said, "No, honey, it's just the usual jealousy you encounter at these events. Please don't dwell on it. It's not worth your time." Men I have brief interactions with often go out of their way to insult me in front of my significant other, particularly regarding my appearance. I always try to dress nicely, not overly flashy, but I take care of myself and prefer not to look sloppy. Unfortunately, this seems to offend some men. I have faced this kind of petty ridicule my entire life, and I wish I could say I have become accustomed to it. It's always uncomfortable to witness such insecurity. I don't believe I have done anything to provoke it. I keep to myself, I'm introverted and try to show genuine friendliness to everyone, both men and women. I find that I can hardly express an opinion without provoking random personal attacks about my appearance, such as, "Ah, life must be so hard for the fashion model," and other shallow comments. I rarely express opinions or share much about my life because I anticipate the response. I could provide numerous examples of this behavior. It happens frequently. I think anyone who knows me would describe me as authentic, genuinely friendly, and a solid friend. However, I struggle to have casual, friendly conversations with any man's girlfriend or spouse. There are often reactions suggesting that I am coming on to them. I do notice that their partners frequently smile at me while we talk, laugh unusually hard at my jokes, and sometimes seem to find reasons to touch my arm or chest briefly in response to something I've said. Story 66. With the experiences I have had, it has been quite challenging to find a committed relationship. Women are comfortable sleeping with me and expect me to be perfect in bed, but they do not want to commit or communicate their preferences. There is a significant stigma surrounding attractive individuals that suggests their lives are much better and more exciting because of their appearance. In reality, many attractive people feel lonely and isolated because others place them on an imaginary pedestal. As a man, people often assume I am pursuing them due to my looks and mannerisms. I only have 2 close male friends, and I am content with that. Story 67. Most men, even if they are attractive, do not believe they are. The reason is that they do not receive the constant validation that attractive women receive. Story 68. I was certainly the best looking in my friend group. There was nothing hard about being attractive. I put in less effort in the initial stages of dating than some of my friends. I was lucky to find a woman who did not care about my appearance, only that I made her happy. That's when the hard work began. It's much harder to keep a good woman than to find one, and I am still working hard at it. 24 years and counting. Story 69. I often feel like I'm being stared at as if I'm an outsider. Women rarely initiate any interaction, and some gay men gawk at me. Both groups have crossed boundaries, and many people struggle to communicate with me effectively. I haven't had much luck finding a partner because I don't seem to connect with anyone at my level. Some men become extremely insecure around me. If they have a partner, I often receive cold stares when I engage with that partner. Deep down, they may realize their insecurities, but that's not my concern. My life has often felt isolating, though I now have a large network of friends. Real adults tend to be less insecure and recognize that being with me is enjoyable and exciting. However, I've accepted the reality that I may never find a partner, as I'm not attracted to many women who have not aged well. I refuse to settle for someone who is struggling with addiction or is a single parent still connected to their past. True beauty comes from within, and when I am content with myself, I feel fulfilled. I possess an energy that many desire. For now, my friends are enough. Story 70. I feel uncomfortable when women comment on my body or appearance in front of me as if I am not there, or make inappropriate remarks. It is frustrating that these comments often come from women who I believe would not have been interested anyway. Story 71. While walking in a Walmart with my wife, a good-looking woman smiled at me and held her gaze for a long time. When she passed by, my wife asked, "What was that about?" I replied that I didn't know, but it felt nice, especially since I was 62 at the time. Story 72. I had a great 10-year run, and I can't think of any downsides. Took effort to stay in great shape, but other than that, it was just nice. Story 73. It is isolating. You receive a lot of attention, but often it is not the attention you desire. It makes you wonder if people like you for who you are or what you represent. Additionally, people do not tend to respect your boundaries, whether they are related to personal space or time. You cannot really express your problems because no one takes you seriously. Often, the people you date become insecure about the attention you receive and take it out on you, leaving you desensitized to compliments. I think the worst part is that it makes you lazier in developing social skills. I could talk about anything with the girls I meet, and they are interested solely because of my appearance. As a result, I am uncertain if what I am saying is genuinely engaging. This leads me to be less creative and to put in less effort, which hinders my potential to become a more creative person. Story 74. Being approached by men and turning them down is a common experience. Don't get me wrong, I experience rejection from women regularly. It's part of the game. I am not fully aware of the reality women face when rejecting men, but it seems they take it quite personally when faced with rejection. They may not be accustomed to it. On the other hand, jealousy from a significant other in a relationship can be interesting. It often leads to increased efforts when faced with a little competition. Story 75. I have been attractive at various points in my life, as people are not usually good-looking throughout their lives. Overall, things are going well, and I'm not looking for sympathy. One tricky aspect can be getting caught up in jealousy and drama. Women can become quite vengeful when faced with rejection. Given the potential for false accusations, this poses a genuine risk. Story 76. I'm an attractive man, or at least others have told me, but I'm 5 feet 6 inches tall. I find myself in a strange position where I receive compliments about being handsome, yet I also hear that some would never consider being with me because of my height. It's unusual, but the women I have had relationships with are usually wonderful. Story 77. Attractive women become very awkward around you. It's like watching a 10-year-old girl trying to flirt for the first time. I am quite introverted, which makes it even more uncomfortable. Story 78. There is an expectation to have excellent social skills and interesting lives. I had a significant transformation at 19. Now at 22, I realize that for most of my life, I have been the quiet kid doing my own thing. Now, people care excessively about my life and my thoughts. Story 79. It's not that hard being pretty, but the hardest thing for me is the heavy burden I have to carry between my legs all the time. Story 80. The regular attractive man does not have it as easy as a regular attractive woman, unless one's intelligence matches their looks. What I mean is that, as a man, you always need confidence and social skills to connect with women. If you are an attractive man without these traits, you may receive a lot of attention and notice women making advances through social interaction and body language. But you still need to have the confidence and ability to make the next move. Most of the time, this is how it works. Sometimes opportunity may come to you, but that is not the norm. The only downside to being an attractive man could be dealing with jealous individuals who may want to undermine you based on a primal sense of competition that you might not even understand. This could affect your chances in certain situations, for example, if you have a jealous boss or an envious ex. Story 81. I have learned through experience and research that I often make women uncomfortable because they feel intimidated by my attractiveness. They act awkwardly around me or become very quiet, and since I am socially awkward, it paradoxically makes things even harder for me. Story 82. Sometimes, I meet someone and feel I am just being nice, yet the person develops romantic feelings for me. This might also be due to my inclination to get to know people quickly if I like them. However, the number of friendships that have ended is considerable. Story 83. It really changed my perception of women. Being attractive made it easy to connect with them. In my younger years, many married or taken women would pursue me. I had many one-night stands with little effort on my part. This made me second-guess many of my future relationships. If these other women could so easily and willingly engage with me and then return to their relationships as if nothing happened, what is stopping my partner from doing the same with someone more attractive? Story 84. I had a friend tell me I was an attractive guy. He then asked why I didn't have a girlfriend. It doesn't matter if it's your parents, friends, or other family. People are constantly prying into your personal life. It didn't help that the men in my family have a reputation for being promiscuous. There was an assumption that I was having much more sex than I actually was and that I was good with women. My awkwardness has improved as I've become more comfortable in my own skin, but I'm still working on myself. The lack of confidence, juxtaposed with compliments and flirting, makes you feel somewhat lost. It's as if these people see something in you that you don't see in yourself. Story 85. Most girls assume I have multiple female friends on the side and therefore don't trust me. I feel lonely and I'm not talking to anyone. Story 86. Apparently, everyone is so shy that they run away and yell something incoherent like, "You!" I have no idea what they want to say, though. At least my grandma tells me how handsome I am. Story 87. I feel alone despite receiving a good amount of attention. Girls act strangely. Many times they just want to hook up, but I do not want that, which is saddening and discouraging. Receiving attention from men is the worst. They are usually more prone to invading your space because they think that since you are the same sex, they can get away with it under the guise of friendship. People in general seem more open to showing their bodies or showing off for you. However, in the end, all this attention makes me feel worse because if it stagnates, I am left wanting more validation. Story 88. Honestly, it stresses me out a lot at my job. I have coworkers who come up to me saying, "Isn't he just the sexiest? Really? You can't say hi." I get looks and comments all day long, especially since I supervise nearly 15 women. Many will come up and poke or pinch me in inappropriate areas, constantly trying to start conversations and sharing their issues. I enjoy the attention, but sometimes I just want to be left alone to do my job. Story 89. I have been the ugliest person in the room and the most attractive. I lost over 100 pounds and experienced a significant transformation. I am currently in between these two extremes. My diet has been poor for the last couple of months, and I have developed a lot of acne on my face. I should mention that being attractive makes life much easier, especially when you have confidence. However, it makes it extremely difficult to know who genuinely likes you and who is only interested in your appearance. I cannot count how many shallow dates I have been on with women who were as attractive as I thought I was, only for them to be interested in that aspect alone. This made it really hard to develop meaningful relationships. Story 90. The number of unattractive women who approach you throughout the week can be surprising. While beauty is subjective, I consider myself fit and well under 40. I don't believe a divorced woman in her 50s is a suitable match for me. At the same time, a young woman at the bar seems put off as soon as I say hello. Additionally, you may attract attention from members of the LGBTQ+ community, so be mindful of the bars you choose to visit unless that is something you are interested in. Story 91. For me personally, it's when you get to know a really sweet girl, but she's not attractive. I know deep down that with my standard for beauty, it won't ever happen. So then I try not to give any sign that I like them to avoid hurting them, and that ends up hurting them as well. It's a double-edged sword that hurts me too. Story 92. I feel that they receive many leniencies for certain shortcomings, and since people do not address these issues, they are not given the opportunity to grow and learn how to improve in those situations. Story 93. Physical attractiveness can help a man make a good first impression. For many women, it may lead to a romantic encounter. This statement is a generalization, of course. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.